From homeless black millionaire to inspiring leader, the Donald Trump and Elon Musk story. The world flipped upside down in a way nobody could have seen coming. Elon Musk, yes, the same guy known for rockets, electric cars, and parties that cost more than your house, walks away from it all. Not a joke, not a prank. He announces he's done with the billionaire lifestyle. No more mansions, no more private jets, no more headlines screaming his name. Instead, he's moving to a small town, a place where neighbors actually know each other's names. This was like hearing a star vanish from the sky. The news blew up. Phones buzzed in the middle of the night. Reporters camped outside his huge glass and steel palace, waiting for some kind of explanation. But Musk's message was clear. He wanted meaning, real meaning, something money couldn't buy. The man who once promised colonies on Mars now craved a quiet life, the kind where morning coffee smells like cinnamon. And the biggest drama is... Meanwhile, across a nation wired with whispers and gasps, Donald Trump felt the ground shake beneath his polished boots. Trump, the emblem of showy wealth and booming capitalism, stared at his big screen, watching Musk's announcement ripple through the world. Something about this rattled him deep down. Sure, he could talk big, flash money, tell stories about being self-made until the room went silent. But Musk's choice? It challenged the entire game Trump played, a game built on the idea that more means better, richer means stronger. Behind closed doors, Trump's face tightened. His fingers tapped nervously, his usual swagger giving way to a flicker of fear. The fear that maybe, just maybe, the world was starting to question everything his empire stood on. Then, just as if the universe was pushing him to the edge, burning secrets spilled into the light. A long-buried family truth, a puzzle piece no one expected, emerged suddenly. A revelation sharp and bitter that threatened. Caught in this storm, Musk and Trump found themselves staring into strange new mirrors. Musk wrestled with the sacrifices his new path demanded, the luxury he had to quit, the battles he would now face with himself. Trump fumbled to hold on to his story, his control slipping through shaky fingers, shadows creeping into the carefully crafted empire of his identity. The tension throbbed like a pulse between them. Two men, two worlds, clashing destinies. And just as the dust seemed to settle, Elon stood on the edge of his new life, a lone figure watching the glittering skyline he once dominated, feeling a strange mix of grief and hope swirling inside. At the same breath, Trump's phone rang. The call was short but fierce, promising to tear down everything he thought he knew, everything he built. What happens next? Will these giants fall apart or rise anew? The answer's out there, just waiting in the silence before the storm. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Elon stood on that edge, the skyline shimmering like a long-forgotten dream. Was it all worth it? He thought about the quiet mornings, but the weight of his past pressed heavily. Suddenly, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket, pulling him from his thoughts. It was an unfamiliar number. Ignoring it? Not an option. Hello, he answered, curiosity racing. Mr. Musk. The voice was low, cold as ice. There's something you need to know. The moment hung in the air, charged and heavy. What is it? His heart pounded like a drum. Your mother's health is deteriorating. It's serious. The ground went soft beneath him. His breath caught. His mother? He hadn't spoken to her in months, too wrapped in his own whirlwind of success and failure, too focused on a life no longer measured in dollars. The thought twisted like a knife. Where? He gasped, urgency flooding his voice. Los Angeles. You need to come now. The call ended abruptly, leaving a silence that screamed louder than any noise. Behind him, life continued. Cars whooshed past, birds chirped, but everything felt unreal. Grief crashed over him like a wave, pulling him under. In that instant, the escape he craved blurred. Was he ready to face whatever lay ahead? Meanwhile, Donald Trump sat in his golden fortress, still rattled by Musk's bold step. His phone buzzed too, breaking the silence of the dim room. A text from an unknown sender flashed across the screen. We need to talk about the past. A chill raced down his spine. No, it couldn't be. His heart hammered like a jackhammer against his chest. Memories swirled like dark clouds, buried secrets, whispers of betrayal, family ties that twisted like vines around his throat. Panic bubbled in his throat. Jacob? He called out. His trusted aide rushed in, the tension thick enough to slice. Find out who that was, now. Jacob's face paled. Yes, sir. He hurried from the room, leaving Trump to wrestle with creeping dread. The past had a way of resurfacing when least expected. Would this be a reckoning? In a synchronized moment, two men faced their demons, unaware of the storm intertwining their fates. Back in Los Angeles, Elon raced like a whirlwind, arriving at the hospital, where fluorescent lights buzzed ominously. He sprinted down sterile corridors, the air heavy with antiseptic. Fear gripped him tight. What had he missed? Room 303, a nurse said, pointing with a kind but shaken look. Each step dragged heavier than the last. He pushed the door open. The room felt too bright for the frail figure lying in the bed. His mother's face was a mask of fragility. Elon, she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Mom, he breathed, rushing to her side. He wrapped his hands around hers, warm but fading. I'm here. Tears pushed at the corner of his eyes, creating a lump in his throat. What happened? She took a shaky breath, eyes glistening. Elon, there's something you need to know about your father. Just like that, the world tilted again, changing shape, flipping upside down. Questions crashed in. What was the truth? What did it mean? Back in New York, Trump paced, thoughts screaming louder than his footsteps. Then, the door swung open. Jacob staggered in, face wan and wild. I found something that will change everything. What? Trump snapped, adrenaline spiking. He's your brother, the brother you never knew existed. The silence swallowed them whole. Two men, each at the brink of discovery, in the depths of their turmoil. Secrets reach out like shadows, threatening to pull them under. What next? What would they face now? The air crackled with anticipation, the truth hovering, ready to drop like a lightning bolt. Elon stood there, his heart pounding in a rhythm that matched the unease settling in the air around him. He took a moment, letting the golden skyline reflect the chaos turning inside him. Was this really what he wanted? Maybe he traded too much for peace. Just as his thoughts began swirling, his phone buzzed violently. The screen lit up, and there it was, a name he thought he'd never hear again. Melanie Deporte. This name echoed like a ghost from his past. Melanie had been the sharpest of critics, a journalist known for tearing down facades, including those of billionaires. Their relationship had soured long ago, but she had always held a key to secrets that could rip apart more than just reputations. Against his better judgment, he answered the call. "Elon," she said, breathless but fierce. "I'm in town. You need to meet me. There's something you don't know." His palms felt slick as he logged on to his private pad. "What is it?" The shadow-like grip of worry squeezed around his chest. "Trust me, you need to listen," she insisted. "Meet me at the old diner by the park. It's urgent." He glanced back at the skyline, his past life, before nodding to himself. "Okay, I'll be there." Minutes later, he pulled up to the diner, its flickering neon sign eerily familiar. The smell of fried food wafted through the air, pulling him back to simpler times. As he stepped inside, the bell chimed. A jarring reminder of where he was, just another face in the crowd. But the moment his eyes caught Melanie's seated form, something felt off. She looked pale, almost haunted, like a wolf who had just tasted fear. "Why the urgency?" he asked, sliding into the booth across from her. "What's going on? Sit tight and don't react." She leaned closer, her voice low but sharp as glass. "Do you trust me?" "Of course." "Good," she interrupted, "because what I'm about to tell you changes everything. You need to know, your father is not who you think he is." Those words landed like a hammer. "What are you talking about?" he shot back, his chest tightening. "My father? He's just an engineer." "No, Elon, your father wasn't just an engineer. He was involved in something much bigger, a project, a network that stretches from your name into the highest echelons of power." She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying over the screen. "They're coming. You have to understand, it's not just your family. I have proof that connects you to activities that could reshape the world's view of you. You're entangled in something dark, and you might think you're stepping away from fame, but it's chasing you." He felt the air thicken. "What are you saying? Is this some kind of joke?" "Look," she said, a glare in her eyes as she turned a screen toward him. The image shook his core. It was an old newspaper article, a faded picture of a young version of his father, standing with questionable characters, a secret connection to a cash flow that funded covert operations he had never even dreamed of. "What does this mean?" he whispered, his voice shaking as dread seeped deep into his bones. The realization hit. He was sitting on a foundation built with hidden truths and possible betrayals. Across town, under the same wavering skyline, Trump stood in his penthouse, gripping the phone tightly. The voice on the other end rasped with urgency, echoing the chaos he felt within. "Mr. Trump, you need to prepare for what's coming. Everything you've built, it's all questionable now. People are talking, really talking. Your empire had roots you don't fully understand." Trump's heart raced. "What do you mean? It's happening. The walls are crumbling. They know. And they're coming for you." Two men, worlds apart, each standing on the brink of destruction, their lives intertwined by secrets that had begun to boil to the surface. What did it all mean? Would they confront their pasts or become mere shadows of the legends they once were? The storm was brewing, and neither side knew whether it would consume them or deliver them. Elon stared at the article, disbelief coursing through him. His father wasn't just an engineer. He was part of something dark and powerful. Panic flared inside him, igniting thoughts that raced faster than he could catch. "What do you mean, entangled?" he managed. His voice strained, almost a whisper. Around them, the din of the diner buzzed, but all he could hear was the pounding of his heart. "I'm telling you, Elon." Melanie leaned closer, urgency dripping from her words. "There are files, connections, names, people who won't hesitate to silence anyone who digs too deep. If they know I'm talking to you—" She froze, her eyes darting behind him. A shadow loomed in the doorway. A tall figure stepped inside, wearing shades that screamed trouble. The diner fell silent, every head turning, whispers scraping the walls. Elon's stomach dropped. Something was off. This wasn't just a random face. "Who?" he started, but Melanie silenced him with a quick wave of her hand. Before he could ask for clarity, the figure moved closer. Elon's breath hitched as he recognized the patches on the stranger's jacket. They were symbols of power he'd learned about, but had never wanted to believe existed. This was the moment he feared, wrapped in shadows. "Mr. Musk," the figure intoned coolly, sliding onto the booth's edge. "We need to talk about your father." The words hung heavy, a shroud. "What do you mean?" Elon asked, fear twisting tight in his chest. "He was more than you know," the man continued, voice steady as if spilling secrets was second nature. "We're family." He smirked, a glint of something dark in his eyes. "Your real family." The ground beneath Elon shifted. Everything he thought he knew about his lineage shattered. Family? This man was a stranger. He could barely register the tumult within him. Memories of his mother's frail voice echoed, whispering truths he had yet to face. Melanie's eyes widened, shock blending with concern. "Elon, don't believe him," she urged. But it felt like a distant echo, swimming through the fog of confusion. "He's trying to manipulate you." "Ora? See?" The man leaned forward, the air around them thickening with tension. "Or am I opening your eyes? Think about it. All the success, the loneliness, it's all part of a game." Elon's mind raced wildly. Could this be true? "What are you saying?" he pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. "I'm saying your father was a part of an underground network, one that your mother kept hidden from you for years. The life you thought was yours, a lie." The man's voice dropped, dripping with malice. Dripping with malice. "And you, dear Elon, are essential to what's to come." An electrifying chill shot through him. Questions spun faster than he could comprehend. What did it mean? How could anyone be tied to such a dangerous legacy? His gut twisted in knots. Across town, Donald Trump felt the tremors of revelation echo in the silence of his tent house. Jacob's words replayed in his mind. You have a brother, the brother you never knew existed. A brother? Trump thundered, pacing, his voice fierce and shaky. What do you mean? The stakes suddenly felt higher than skyscrapers. There are papers, pictures. It's all been hidden. Your past is catching up to you. Jacob gulped, desperation etched across his face. Trump's mind raced. He had always fought for control, and now his world teetered on the brink of chaos. What if this brother wielded the power to destroy everything? Get the files, he snapped. We need every detail. Back in the diner, Elon's heart banged against his chest. Fog descended. A brother. A family tangled in lies. The man before him, a specter from his father's true life, was not just an outsider. He was part of a puzzle that threatened to unravel everything. What's going to happen? Elon asked, each word steeped in fear. Chaos, Mr. Musk. Absolute chaos. But it can be controlled, the man said, tilting his head. Join us and you'll see the real power behind your name. Elon felt electricity in the air, a pull that twisted his gut. Trust was slipping through his fingers. Would the truth shatter him or free him? The walls felt like they were closing in, and he stood at the edge of something bigger than himself. Meanwhile, Trump clenched his fists. The stakes were rising, and losing was no longer an option. He had to act before everything he had built crumbled. Two men, each on a path to confrontation, their destinies clashing violently, each securing a glimpse into the dark corners of their lives. Would they rise from the wreckage, or be swallowed whole by the shadows they couldn't escape? The weight of uncertainty loomed heavy, a storm gathering strength, just waiting to unleash its fury. Elon felt the bittersweet weight of his decision as he stared out at the skyline he once owned. The glow of the city sparkled, yet it felt like a distant memory. Just as he took a deep breath, ready to embrace this new chapter, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket. It was a message, a single line, but enough to freeze his heart. They know everything. The air turned electric. In an instant, he was transported to a dark room, away from the glittering buildings. He stared at his phone, the words pulsating like a warning. He could almost hear the whispers enveloping him, a danger lurking closer than he imagined. Meanwhile, in Trump Tower, Donald stood breathless, phone still in hand, the caller's identity burning in his mind. His blood ran cold. A revelation hit him with a force that nearly toppled him. It was the family secret, a hidden truth about his lineage that had been kept locked away, buried under the weight of money and power. He'd always seen himself as almost invincible, an empire builder, a king of narcissism, but now he was staring into a mirror reflecting his deepest fears. It was a truth that could unravel everything he believed, everything he sold to the world. I can't, he whispered, the words caught inside his throat. Outside, the world buzzed with anticipation, reporters flocking to the corner of the street. A sense of urgency thickened the air. Did you hear? Someone asked. Musk's leaving everything behind. What happened to Trump? They were rattling off names in waves. checking their phones for updates, eyes wide in disbelief. Elon's heart raced as he scrolled through tweets that painted the scene with a color he didn't recognize. Murmurs of Trump's empire being threatened by a scandal unmasked and shocking. Names and faces flashed by, all connecting to the tide of speculation that began to drown him in anxiety. Suddenly, the world around them exploded. An unexpected explosion wrought the street in a shower of glass and smoke. Screams echoed. Chaos erupted. The plans for a quiet life were snatched away in a burst of sirens and shouts. Both men were thrust into chaos, their intentions threatened by an unforeseen danger. As the thick smoke curled through the air, something even more unsettling began to unfold. A figure emerging from the haze. A woman, cloaked in shadows, made her way toward them. The rise and fall of her breaths echoed loudly, drowning out the distant sounds of panic. Elon's eyes widened. He recognized her. She was a part of his past, someone he trusted deeply. She was also connected to Trump, weaving through the shared fabric of their lives. "What are you doing here?" he managed to choke out, his voice trembling over the chaos. With a swirling intensity, she delivered a message that shattered everything. "You're both in danger. They know what you've hidden. All of it." Donald's heart raced as he exchanged a terrified glance with Elon. What secrets had they buried? What had they done? The world spun, and the ground felt unsteady beneath them. As the sirens blared louder and more chaos unfolded, the truth loomed larger than ever. Lines between alliances blurred, trust eroded. They were no longer simply rivals. They were caught in a web woven by forces beyond their understanding. In that heart-stopping moment, one thing became clear. What would happen next would shake the foundations of everything they built. Would they stand together in the face of their truths? Or would betrayal cut deeper than anything they ever imagined? The silence before the storm thickened, leaving everyone breathless, waiting for the next shocking turn. Elon stood on the edge of his new life, staring out at the skyline that used to be his playground. The silence buzzed around him, and then the phone rang. Sharp, insistent. He answered, heart pounding. "Hello?" But the voice on the other end wasn't a friend or a familiar face. It was deep, low, dripping with urgency and something darker, something he didn't expect. "Mr. Musk, you need to listen closely." The tension coiled tight in his chest. "It's about Donald." A chill ran down his spine. "What do you mean?" "Trump isn't who you think he is. There are things buried that could tear down his world. And your world, too." Musk felt his breath catch. The weight of the revelation pressed on him. "What you talking about?" "Meet me tonight. The old factory on Glenwood. I'll explain everything." Before he could reply, the line went dead. The air felt electric. Meanwhile, at Trump Tower, the shadows felt darker. Trump clenched his jaw, staring at the wall of screens, each one humming with news. Panic surged through him as the realities crumbled like old paper. He paced frantically, each step echoing his growing fear. The call he received ignited a storm, an anonymous tip about a video circulating, one that could turn everything upside down. The rumors were already buzzing. Was there truth behind the whispers? The phone rang again. This time, it was his attorney, voice frantic. "Sir, we need to talk." "About what?" Trump barked. Desperation evident? Damage control. You might want to take a look at your past. There are files surfacing. Information that could change everything. Trump's stomach dropped. A knot tied tighter. What are you saying? Things you've buried. Secrets. And just like that, his empire felt fragile as glass. Back at the old factory, twilight wrapped around Elon as he arrived. The place swallowed in shadows. It had long stood still, but a fire flickered in a corner. He squinted, spotting a figure. "Who are you?" Elon called, flexing his hands nervously. The figure stepped into the light. "Someone who knows the truth," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes darted like a trapped bird. "I'm Donald's sister." A gasp caught in Elon's throat. "What? No. Believe it or not, we come from chaos, hidden from the world. I can't let him continue with this facade. And you're now part of the story." Elon felt the whole world tilt. "What do you mean?" "The real story? I'm here to warn you before everything falls apart. If he keeps this up, it could ruin both of us." "What are you talking about? What's out there?" "Family scandals, lawsuits, lies that could flip public opinion in a heartbeat." The wind howled, swirling leaves around them, a storm brewing in the distance. "Why should I trust you?" Elon demanded, the fight rising in him. "Because I've seen how he destroys those closest to him. I won't let that happen to you. Not again." Elon's heart raced. A weight settled on his shoulders, a sudden realization that his path toward meaning might pull him directly into a whirlwind that had nothing to do with his choices. As he hesitated, the factory's lights flickered ominously. His phone buzzed. A message from Trump appeared, a single line that sent fear rippling through his spine. "Meet me. We need to talk. Now." What would he choose? Would this revelation shatter everything? Or would it forge a new path? A betrayal brewing in the shadows, dynamic and deadly. What truths would be unleashed, and what would they cost? The air pulsed electric with uncertainty, ready to explode. Elon stood on that teche, estando atrás, feeling swirling inside like a tornado. There was a heaviness in his chest, a mixture of grief for what he was leaving behind and hope for what lay ahead. It was then, in that still moment, that everything shifted. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the quiet. No warning, just a shock wave of sound. Elon turned, heart racing. Dust flew into the air, and a crowd began to gather around the scene. A massive black SUV had just barreled out of control, slamming into the nearby fence. It was chaos, a whirlwind of shouts, panic, and confusion. But in the mayhem, one figure stood out: the driver. The door swung open, and a familiar figure stumbled out, dazed but determined. Donald Trump. "What the hell?" Elon whispered, the ground feeling shaky beneath him. Trump, looking disheveled and wild-eyed, staggered forward, his suit rumpled and smeared with dirt. He locked eyes with Elon, and the weight of that moment hung heavy between them. It was more than just an unexpected encounter. It felt monumental, like the universe had pressed pause on everything else. "Did you?" Trump began, breathless and frantic. "Did you set this up?" The accusation felt sharp, bitter. "What? No! What are you talking about?" Elon shot back, confusion spilling into his voice. But Trump wasn't listening. His gaze darted past Elon, scanning the crowd, a flash of something darker in his eyes. Then the whispers began. People murmured, questions spreading like wildfire. Is he all right? What's happening? Was it an accident? The tension crackled, turning palpable, electrifying the air. Everyone was on edge, eyes flicking back and forth between the two men. Then, just beyond the crowd, another sound broke through. Sirens, loud, blaring, ominous. The lights flashed like a strobe, cutting through the gathering dusk. As police cars approached, Trump's face twisted with something akin to raw panic. He suddenly turned to Elon, fear creeping into his voice. They know everything. What everything? Elon pressed, a lump forming in his throat, but Trump was gone, clutching at his hair, pacing like a caged animal. Feet shuffled. The crowd felt the shift, a collective breath held. Eyes wide and searching, he leaned in closer to Elon, voice dropping to a near whisper. It's about my family. There were things hidden, secrets. I can't let it come out. Elon's mind raced, heart pounding. What secrets? What was at stake? He'd known Trump to be loud, brash, unyielding, but this was fear laid bare, a crack in the facade, a glimpse behind the curtain of the grand performance. And then snippets of conversation from the surrounding people jumbled together, fragmenting the air. Is this the end for him? What does it mean for Musk? What a fall. Tension was building, thick enough to slice through. Did they both stand on the edge of disaster? Trump's posture shifted, suddenly straightening. I need your help, he said, eyes blazing, desperation radiating. Elon blinked, caught off guard. My help? After everything? But before he could process it all, a woman from the crowd screamed. Glass shattered. Another vehicle had pulled up, this one marked, official looking. The questions weighed heavier now. Were they coming for Trump? Or was this a bigger game? One that pulled Elon into its dark embrace. In that intense moment, lives tangled. The showroom glitz of ambition turned murky, drenched in fear and impending chaos. As the sirens wailed and lights flashed, one thought pierced through the haze. Everything was about to change. Elon looked at Trump, uncertainty swimming in his gaze. Would they band together or become enemies in a storm that threatened to consume them both? The mystery of the truth loomed large, choking optimism beneath its weight. And just like that, they stood at the intersection, ready to face whatever darkness awaited them. Elon looked at Trump, uncertainty swimming in his gaze. They stood on the cusp of chaos, each one feeling the weight of the moment. Sirens wailed as police cars screeched to a halt, their lights flashing like angry stars against the darkening sky. Tension crackled in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Get behind me, Trump urged, glancing over his shoulder, his eyes wild with panic. We need to figure this out, fast. Elon wasn't sure what to do. His instincts screamed for self-preservation, yet an unshakable connection pulled him toward Trump. How had it come to this? Their rivalry now felt like a fractured alliance, teetering on the brink. Just then, the crowd parted, revealing a figure pushing their way through. Dressed in dark clothing, they moved with a purpose, eyes locked on Trump. Elon squinted, recognizing those broad shoulders, that confident stride, a striking resemblance to him. Stop! The command sliced through the chaos, sending a ripple of confusion. The crowd murmured, whispers flying like sparks from a fire. "Who are you?" Trump challenged, his voice strained, yet a smidge of arrogance cutting through, as if he hoped to regain control. "I'm here for you, Donald," the figure said coolly, pulling off the sunglasses. The crowd gasped. It was Daniel, the brother Trump had never mentioned. An uncanny family connection now burst into the open. "What the hell are you doing here?" Trump's face twisted in shock. "You're not supposed to be—" "I know." Daniel stepped closer, his presence radiating authority. "But this isn't just about you anymore. It's bigger than your empire. It's about all of us." Elon watched, heart racing, anger and confusion mixing. He felt the world shift under his feet. What was going on? Secrets? Family ties? Suddenly, he wasn't just an observer. He had become part of something dark and twisted. "Listen to me now, both of you," Daniel said, raising his hands in a gesture of calm. "The walls are closing in. Everything you've built is about to come crashing down. And I know who's behind it." Trump's jaw clenched. "What do you mean, behind it?" "Mysterious figures!" "Mysterious figures. They've been watching you, waiting for the right moment to strike." Daniel's voice dropped, forming an invisible wall around them. "There's a scandal brewing, and I can help if you both just listen." At that moment, before anyone could respond, an explosion rocked the ground. An ear-splitting blast that sent debris flying. The world went white. Screams erupted, and chaos descended like a storm. People scattered, their faces twisted in terror, as the building nearby erupted in flames, smoke curling upward like a pitiful wail. Elon's heart raced. Was this an accident? Or a trap? His instincts kicked in, and he grabbed Trump's arm hard, dragging him away from the chaos, even as the crowd surged backward, panic overtaking reason. "Get to safety!" Elon shouted, adrenaline surging. He pushed through the crowd, heart in his throat, but Daniel didn't follow. "Stop!" Trump shouted, wrenching his arm back. "What are you doing?" Daniel stood rooted, his eyes blazing, a smirk creeping across his face. "You think you could ever escape this? You've all played your parts in the game, and now it's time to see the consequences." The flames lit up the night, illuminating the gravity of the situation. Elon staggered, shock flooding through him. "What do you mean? What game? What are you hiding?" But before Daniel could reply, he vanished into the shadows, as if the flames had swallowed him whole. No one knew what had just transpired. Families screamed. Sirens wailed. A reality unfolded, revealing layers of deception they hadn't anticipated. Pulled into chaos, Elon and Trump faced a new truth. Everything they thought they knew was slipping through their fingers like sand as smoke filled the air. The reality of their lives darkened. Would they uncover the truth behind the flames? Or would they be consumed by the secrets that lingered in the shadows? With urgency in their hearts, they had to decide: fight together or let betrayal tear them apart. In that moment of decision, the world held its breath, waiting for the next move. Elon looked at Trump, uncertainty swimming in his gaze. They stood on the cusp of chaos, each feeling the weight of the moment. Sirens wailed, Police cars screeching to a halt, their lights flashing like angry stars against the darkening sky. Denshin Krako in la era, teko oka se podía ser la canita. Get behind me, Trump urged, glancing over his shoulder, eyes wild with panic. We need to figure this out fast. But before Elon could process anything, a sudden boom erupted from above, shaking the ground. Everyone froze. The crowd flinched, confusion morphing into terror as a helicopter descended, its whirring blades slicing through the air like a knife. It hovered barely above them. A mechanical beast orchestrata, el caos veló. A voice blared from a loud speaker, robótico y comandante. Donald Trump y Elon Musk son muertos. Vengan hacia adelante. A wave of panic swept through the crowd as they scrambled, seeking shelter, but Elon felt rooted. He turned to Trump, eyes wide. What is this? Trump's face drained of color. I don't know. Get down, a bystander shouted, shoving a woman aside as everyone ducked. The helicopter's searchlight swung wildly over the mob, the light dancing like a rhythm of dread. Why are they after us? Elon shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. The blades roared, drowning out the chaos. Just then, something fell from the helicopter. A package. No one had time to react before it landed with explosive force. The blast knocked everyone off their feet, sending debris flying. Smoke billowed, and alarms blared. Elon felt a sharp pain in his side, hitting the ground hard as the air turned thick with fury. He squeezed his eyes shut, fear wrapping around him like a shroud. He opened them again, scanning the hazy scene. There were screams. People were pinned under rubble. The air smelled of burnt plastic and ash. It was chaos, and the consequences were unfolding. And then he saw her, his mother, Sarah, stumbling through the smoke. She was fragile, her face pale, but her eyes were fierce. "Elon!" she cried, reaching toward him. Panic surged as he scrambled to his feet. "Mom!" He raced toward her, only to skid to a halt when he saw the shadow behind her. A man he recognized from long ago, but never wanted to see again. "Leave her alone!" Elon roared. "What are you doing here?" The man grinned, eyes gleaming with a dark satisfaction. "You thought you could outrun your blood, Elon? Think again." But just as the words sank in, everything shifted again. The ground shook worse than before. A wave of heat blasted through the chaos, and the helicopter began to spiral. "Get down!" Trump screamed, lunging for Elon and dragging him to the ground just as the helicopter lost control. It tilted, spiraling wildly, and then, with one last pulse of terror, it crashed directly above them. In the glorious flames and debris, a shocking blip came on the news screens scattered around the chaos. Breaking news! Shocking familial connections between Donald Trump and recent financial scandals emerged. Uncovered links to thought-to-be defunct operations have created a ripple effect. Elon's heart dropped as he caught a piece of paper slipping through the air, glinting in the chaos. He reached for it as the flames devoured the wreckage. "Wait!" he called, but the paper danced just out of reach. Trump's panic became palpable as the pieces of his past fell into place. "No, this can't be happening." The hints were blooming like a dark flower. Could it be true? Everything they had created, everything they stood for, was unraveling in front of them. As the sirens wailed louder, as darkness enveloped their world, One sinister idea formed. What if this was all part of a plan? One they were unwillingly caught in. With his eyes locked on that unraveling world, Elon felt his resolve shatter. Everything had changed. As smoke choked the air, the truth loomed larger than ever. Would they tear free from their shadows, or would those shadows consume them alive? The pieces of their lives twisted around one another, waiting to be fully unveiled, leaving the truth hanging just out of reach. Elon stood frozen, heart racing, as the flames danced like angry spirits around them. Fear wrapped tight around his chest. "Mom!" he shouted, but the chaos drowned out his voice. People were screaming, panic fueling everyone's movement. He spotted her again, but she was tangled in smoke, almost disappearing. "Get to safety!" Trump shouted, pulling at Elon's arm. "We have to move, now!" The urgency in Trump's voice shook Elon free. He nodded, wrestling with his own panic. "We can't leave her!" His gaze darted back to his mother. She was struggling, trying to find her way through the debris. "Trust me," Trump urged, urgency thrumming through him. "If we don't get out of here, we're both finished." In that moment, confusion reigned. What felt like just two men against the world morphed into a deeper fight for survival. They had to face their own shadows. But could they trust each other amidst all this chaos? A shriek cut through the smoke. It was his mother's voice. "Elon!" Heart hammering, he yanked his arm free from Trump's grip. "I have to save her!" "Wait!" Trump shouted, but Elon dashed back into the flames. He pushed past early memories, his laughter as a child, joyful family dinners turned bitter shards of regret. He caught sight of her, her face ghostly pale, hands reaching out. "Mom!" he yelled again, his voice raw, strained. "Elon, please!" she cried, voice wavering. Elon lunged forward, grabbing her hands. The warmth of her grip anchored him. "I'm here!" But just as hope ignited, darkness crashed back. A heavy beam from above creaked ominously. The ground beneath them shuddered. Time slowed. "Run!" Trump bellowed, running back toward them, eyes wide with panic. Elon pulled his mother up just as the beam splintered, crashing down where they had stood moments before. The air exploded with noise and debris. They had pure seconds. "Go!" "Get out!" Trump pulled at them, urgency etched into his features. They dashed through flames, adrenaline driving them. Just a step, then another, and finally they burst through the entrance, the night air striking like a cold wave. Elon turned, panting, grasping his mother's shoulders, relief flooding him. But shadows loomed, fear still lying just beneath the surface. "Where's Daniel?" Trump shouted, his mind spiraling with revelations and panic. "He needs to pay for this." "Less talk, more running!" Elon barked. Then, suddenly, Daniel emerged from the smoke, his eyes wild, like a hunted animal. "You think I wanted this? You're naive! You're both pawns in something bigger! You know nothing!" "How do you know all this?" Elon seethed, still gripping his mother's arm tightly. "Because it's my life too! We're all tangled in these webs!" Daniel shot back. "Enough!" Trump howled, stepping forward. "You gave us a choice, and now you made it for us. We aren't your victims." Silence hung around them, charged, filled with unsaid words. Tension snaked through the air as sirens howled, casting red and blue swirls across the scene. Daniel stepped back, glancing around like a cornered animal. You have no idea who's coming for you. They were all too aware of the stakes now. It was spiraling out of control, the remnants of their lives cracking under pressure. "Let's regroup," Trump urged urgently. "We need to figure out what our next move is. Together." The urgency of the moment pulled them close. Somewhere amidst the chaos, they glimpsed a faint glimmer of hope. Their shared past had built walls, but those walls might protect them now. With uncertainty still looming, they faced each other, acknowledging that they were all now tangled in the same wild storm. As the fire smoldered behind them, they walked toward a new future, uncertain but willing to fight. The night was quiet for a heartbeat, but danger still lurked. Each step forward was a commitment to unraveling the truth, understanding the darkness, and fighting for something greater than themselves. And somewhere in that wild fever, the dawn of a new beginning stirred. Now before you go, listen up. This is your moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now to fuel the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. What did you think of everything? And don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see it. Only true fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions.